So, okay, so now we're going to get to the fun part, the nitty gritty. Okay, since the film is fresh in your mind, John, and it's fresh in my mind, and Colin, he could just fill in whatever, I just want to quickly go through some stuff that people have gripes of.
Actually, I just brought up that Huffington Post article.
The 20 things that have something wrong? 20 things?
22 things, yeah.
All right, let's do it.
Maybe we should just go through this and tear this dude a new one for not doing any research at all.
All right, well, let's do that. Yeah, let's do that. Okay, so first one, let's go. I could. Let me preface this part of the podcast. I can defend 90% of this film because I feel like it's one thing if you don't like the film, but if you say you don't like the film because certain things aren't there or certain things don't make sense, and then someone makes sense of them for you, you can't say those are legitimate gripes anymore. If I say that I don't like this ham sandwich because there's no mayo on it, and then someone comes and puts mayo on it, you gotta shut the fuck up about the sandwich because someone rectified the situation. So if there's something in the film you don't get, and someone says, okay, this is what it is, and you just weren't paying attention and it didn't require any research, that's on you. Okay, let's go.
And also, just to also preface this, everyone has the right to not like a movie in general.
If it's not your taste, that's fine. But I mean, if you're basing it on empirical evidence that can be proven, that will help you enjoy the film more because it would make sense. And if it happened within the context of the film and you just weren't paying attention, that's on you. But if you just don't like the tone or you just don't like certain things, that's your own personal preference. But we're just debating stuff that actually was in the film that you could have paid attention to and you would have enjoyed it more. Okay, so let's go.
So number one, we kind of already tackled and beat it down pretty badly. The name Martha.
Okay, the Martha thing.
We already tackled.
Okay, so for the sake of me chopping this down to this last run, because we're gonna address this. Okay, Martha. Right now, we're gonna do this like we're in school. Martha is a trigger word for Batman, who's obviously messed up in the head. Martha is also the last words coming out of his dad's mouth before he died. At that point in time, hearing the name Martha, especially since Martha isn't a common name anymore, hearing that name out of the blue coming from this alien, who Bruce doesn't know his power set, doesn't know if he's telepathic, doesn't know anything about him. He says Martha, and all of a sudden he thinks he's referring to his mother, because it's a coincidence, because the guy just moments ago said Bruce, so he knows who you are. But how do you know Martha? And then it turns out it's his mother. There's a common link there. And then he sees the humanity in Superman. That Superman isn't just this faceless alien. He has a mother. He has an Earth mother. He has an Earth girlfriend or wife or whatever. And he has people that care about him. And he's not just a guy passing judgment on everyone. Okay. So you guys can give that a rest. It's a very deep moment if you just let it be deep. But the problem is that you people like to nitpick everything. Okay, next one.
Okay. Yeah, my opinion is it's just a name. Calm down. It's not.
They didn't become best friends afterwards because of that. They didn't even have time to become best friends because, spoiler alert, Superman dies.
So they don't have enough time to even talk.
One thing that I think was a flub that they messed up on, that line at the end where Batman says, "I failed him in life, and now but I won't fail him in death." It should have been, "We failed him in life, but we won't fail him in death." Because
that should have been better.
That would have been better because people couldn't just accept that this guy was here to do good for the sake of good. We had to tear him down because we as a people are so shitty that we can't believe that there's good people in the world. So we need people to be down on our level. And he wasn't. He was above us, and that's why people should revere him.
All right. So shall we go for number two? Everywhere anything happens is likely uninhabited. There are no people anywhere.
And then when there were people everywhere in Man of Steel, you said, oh, even though like a lot of people had evacuated Metropolis, you invented all these casualties because debris fell from buildings. Who's standing around at the base of a building waiting for debris to fall on them? So I don't get it. The first film, too much destruction. The second film, Batman makes it his point to go to an abandoned part of Gotham because it's established in the movie that Gotham's this shitty city that no one wants to live in anymore. And Metropolis is the city that's established.
Especially by the Bay. They made a point, especially by the Bay, no one hangs out there because the criminals go there. They made a point in the movie to say that. And yes, if you look at Gotham is not the best area. The differences between Batman and Superman also revert to where they're living. Metropolis is the Golden City. Gotham is this old, historic, but yet dark city. So it's just that point. I think they did to make sure it's like, oh, nobody complains. But I do like the Power Rangers kind of level that they did. Like, hey, nobody's here. It's
Yeah,
cool.
no, like what someone said. It's like Metropolis is glass and steel, and Gotham is brick and mortar. Okay, so what's the next one? That's
All
just
right.
that's stupid. Like if it's something really stupid, that's just common sense. Okay,
Okay. Oh, this one's such an easy thing to do. To number three, everyone seems to think Superman shot a bunch of people. No, they think that Superman, people who follow Superman religiously, Superman ordered them to shoot people. They think Superman has a gang of
yeah,
supporters who will kill for him. That's what they think. They don't think Superman shot people. They think he's the leader of this organization that shot people.
that was set up by Lex Luthor. If you paid attention to the movie,
Yes. So people like the people weren't saying
you
that.
you
Oh
want to know what
no,
it is? The film is dense, right? And a lot of key story parts in the film involve stuff that people would normally dismiss as being important. Like it's kind of like in a comic book where if you see a newspaper heading in a comic book panel, right? A lot of people don't bother reading the newspaper heading. If it's legible, you could read the story in the newspaper. You should read it. But people just want to read the monologue and then the word bubbles. But if there's a document in a comic book frame that you could actually read the entire thing out, it's meant for you to read it.
exactly. And it was just like, yes, like could have been said better? Sure, because it was briefly mentioned, but not fully to the capacity
But it's
people.
within the world. You just kind of have to pay attention to the film. There's a lot going on.
Yeah, yeah, and also you can look at Superman. You can look at Batman's nightmare for that. The Superman gang. That's what people thought those guys were. That's what Batman thought those guys were. And well, since we already tackled that and that was easy, here's another easy tackle. Speaking of his nightmares, Batman's dream about a giant bat. This is what pisses me off about this guy. He's a reporter. He works for Huffington Post. All right?
Okay, yeah.
And
I guess
or
that's
Huff
credible.
Post.
I guess that's credible.
And it's just like, just you could have done some research and figured out the guy's name. You could have done a little bit of research
Here,
and would have known that's Man Bat. That's not some random giant bat. It's Man
but
Bat.
here's the thing, right? This is what I don't understand. Because as a storyteller, right, the nightmare serves to show that Bruce isn't all there in the head and he's afflicted. So even if you don't know that's Man-Bat, it still adds to the character because you need to buy that Batman's crazy enough to try and go fight this god. No one in their right mind would do that unless they're crazy. Even Lex is a little bit crazy. My problem with that, right, is that I feel like if they got people riled up enough to hate this movie, that they could say stuff that obviously shows that they don't understand what's going on, and people will look at that as a legitimate criticism. That's not a legitimate criticism, because even if you don't know who Man-Bat is, it adds to the character. And if you do know who Man-Bat is, it adds to your experience as a theater going fan of the film. So it adds to what you're watching. It's like in Lord of the Rings. If you know certain things about Lord of the Rings, when you see it, you're going to enjoy it more than people who don't. So next one, that doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense at all. He had a nightmare. He's a guy that was drinking and whoring, and he had a nightmare.
Yeah,
Eat a
well, just
dick.
want to stay like I stated in my video. It explains that he's actually met Man Bat before because when you have a nightmare, sometimes you'll include things you've seen already. So I think that's an obvious sign that he's fought Man Bat before, and so that guy's coming up in his dreams now because your dreams get mixed and matched together of your actual history sometimes. So that's a fact. Like sometimes you'll remember something as you're dreaming, and it'll become a part of that dream. So I think that's also proof that he's had this awful past.
And even if you don't know comic books, you can still take it away that he's the guy that's having nightmares and he's not all there in the head. Pretty
Yeah,
easy to explain.
yeah,
Moving along.
yeah. Now here's one. I should know the names of these creatures, but I forgot. So I'm trying
Parademons?
to research on it. The parademons, yes. Batman's dream about other flying monsters. The parademons that came in that gigantic Desert Storm fight scene.
Okay, one of two things could have happened in there, right? Now, and to prove that I'm not a guy who's a big time fanboy DC, here's the thing, right? And I'll give both sides. You could have showed Batman nodding off, but as a fan of horror, the one thing that the later Nightmare on Elm Street films did really well is they blurred the line of when people fell asleep, so that when something otherworldly happened, you're like, oh my god, they're in a dream. So they showed the process of the decrypting going very slow. Then all of a sudden you're in this scene. Then you think he woke up from the scene, and then there's the message from Barry, and then he wakes up again. So you could think to yourself, wait a minute, was that a vision he was having? And then the message, you know what I mean? So it adds a layer of depth. But even then, again, you could take that and say, you know what, this guy is paranoid. This guy is crazy. And even if you don't know what parademons are, you could easily make the connection that this guy's an alien. He's on our planet. Other aliens found him. Other aliens came here looking for him. Who's to say other aliens won't come back?
Yeah.
That him being there brings a whole bunch of bad shit to our world.
And not to mention, in the beginning of that dream, you see the Dark Side logo.
And even if you don't know what that is, you could just say, you know what, this is a possible future that Bruce is thinking of.
And I just wanna bring this up because I feel like it's important. Nobody knew who Thanos was at the end of the Avengers. I marked out when I saw Thanos. I loved it. I'm like, oh my god, they're doing this.
But now everyone acts like they know Thanos. Everyone acts like they know who he is.
Here's the thing. Everyone complains about how, like, oh, this stuff is, like, weird and I don't understand it, and they don't try to do research. But they didn't complain about that during the last during the Avengers end scene when Thanos appeared. They didn't go, who the hell is this guy?
You want to know why? You want to know why? Because it's after the credits, right? So if they want to do the research, they can. One thing that people had a problem with, the ending to Batman vs. Superman, that ending with Jesse Eisenberg, I keep saying Jesse Eisenberg, Alexander Luthor and Batman in the cell, that's the after credit scene. They just put it at the end of the film. You want to know why? Just put it there because it's the end of the film. It's going to lead into the next film. Whether it's at the end of the credits or it's at the end of the film, it's meant to lead into the next installment.
And the second, they did leave out a scene, but they put it out on YouTube.
Yeah, Communion, Steppenwolf.
When he gets arrested,
and he sees
I think if that scene, people would have understood a bit more why he was so crazy at the end, if that scene was explained.
But at the same time, I could see people being even more confused and complaining because that's all they're gonna do.
Yeah. But honestly, right now, this guy only has two main complaints at the moment. But because you can clump a lot of them up into dream stuff. Because here's another one. Seriously, how much does Batman sleep? Because they're talking about, like, it feels like the whole movie. What is this whole movie a dream sequence? Are all these visions? Have we been incepted? This is all your fault, Leo. Because he's like Leonardo DiCaprio Inception. Like,
you know what it is. I'm just gonna say this briefly. This is why I don't like the internet, because everyone with a blog thinks they're a fucking reporter, and a lot of times this is so unprofessional. With journalism, when you make a critique of a film, you leave your feelings out of it and you judge it technically. Like when you're doing journalism, you don't use words that show that you have a bias towards anything. Like you're reporting a news story. If something's wrong with a film, you're reporting something that maybe you didn't understand in the film. You don't sit there and say, oh, well, you don't make jokes like that. That shows unprofessionalism. You're not a journalist. You're just a fucking dude with a blog. Okay, it's not a whole dream sequence. There was a couple dreams in the fucking movie. There were two. And you're harping on that. In a 2.5-hour movie, there were two dream sequences. One of them might be a premonition to what's to come, and you're sitting there harping on that. Next question, because that guy's a dude. This guy's a douche. Next question.
Okay, it just
Next
gets
complaint.
worse.
Next complaint. We're gonna. You know what? You know what? The faster we pick these things apart, the more it looks stupid. Because this guy actually sat there and wrote a fucking novel about something that we're gonna get through like in 2 seconds.
It gets worse.
Let's go.
7. Wait, was that the Flash? Gosh, I hope not. The Flash seems to tap into the power of the Speed Force and show up in a dream, of course. And he put that in italic, or the quotes. To tell Batman something about Lois Lane, but you can barely make out what he's trying to say, and none of it seems relevant. The dude is either saying Lois is the key or I gotta pee. First off, I just watched it today. It's obvious he said Lois is the key. He was shouting it, and
he also said, "Did I come back too soon?" Yeah. I came back too soon.
And
Go
of
fuck
course,
yourself.
and of course, if you just type it in, you'll know this is a reference to Crisis on Infinite Earths, which we were talking about before. I think that's what they're trying to do. I think that's their overall goal, is to do a Crisis movie, which would be amazing. So, oh, and then of course, number 8, quick reminder, Martha, Martha, Martha. He was doing this throughout his top 22, which, by the way, that's still one complaint. You shouldn't count that as 2. Don't you know math?
Yeah, it's Martha. We explained it. Trigger word, psychosis. Look it up. Go to college. Okay, moving along.
All right. Quick reminder: there's no people anywhere. Another thing, he's repeating himself. Why
The empty
did you put
dots?
22? Why couldn't you just knock it down to 5? Because you can combine 90% of this.
Okay, here's the
and
thing.
The other percent, you're repeating yourself.
Here's the thing, right? They even said in the film, it's the like in certain areas, it's the downtown district of Metropolis, the business district of Metropolis. When Zod came, it was in the middle of the fucking day.
Yeah.
When Doomsday showed up, it was at night. And even then, Superman learned from his mistakes, and he took the fight from Metropolis. He took him into space. Batman took the fight from Metropolis. She's like, why'd you bring him here?
Downtown Gotham.
She's like, the port's uninhabited, plus the spear is here. Okay.
And also, yeah, downtown Gotham. Who the heck's gonna be in downtown Gotham? No one innocent is in downtown.
And you know what they said? There might be a crackhead there or a homeless person that got blown up. If it didn't happen on camera, shut the fuck up, because then a lot of people died in Avengers then, right? And you want to know what happened? Okay, here's my problem with Avengers. Real quick. Superman averts a alien crisis. He drops to his knees, he weeps. The Avengers avert an alien crisis, they eat shawarma. That's like, okay, 9/11, right? I knew people who lived through 9/11, right? I was on my way to the city when 9/11 happened. It would be really, really, really tasteless is after 9/11 happened, a dude's walking around eating a fucking gyro or eating a hot dog and just being like, ha ha ha. They're laughing when they should be helping to clean up the mess that they made. That after credit scene should have been like, they're helping everyone, and then fucking, Aunt May shows up with some lemonade and says, hey, you guys look like you're thirsty. Cleaning up all this shit, here's some lemonade. Okay, moving along. That's stupid. That's not a legitimate gripe.
I'm not a lady. I'm a journalist. You tell him, Amy Adams.
That's
this
a nitpick.
Lady's room. I can't use this. Where's your restroom for journalists? Okay.
That's a nitpick, right? And the way that she asked that question, are you a terrorist? She was being a dick about it because Lois Lane's a little bit of a dick in these movies, which I like. She has some teeth on her. She looks at her book, right, and she's like, oh, I have all these questions. Are you a terrorist? You didn't get the delivery of the line.
Well, no, and the whole thing is, especially with Lois Lane, I feel like I need to be direct with this. Like, I can understand why people have criticisms of Lois Lane, but here's the one thing. She's more brave in this movie than Black Widow was in any Avengers movie. Because she didn't get kidnapped. She got kidnapped once by Lex Luthor because she got tricked. But like, she put herself in danger. The other 2 times Superman had to save her, she put herself there because of how brave she is. She's brave in this. She's not a coward. Every woman in this movie is brave. They're not cowardly. They're not like, oh my gosh.
Okay. Okay, you know what? Here's the thing. I'm going to jump on this because you just started something real quick. Okay, the spear thing, which everyone's going to say, criticize. Lois Lane is a Pulitzer-winning investigative journalist. She saw the spear was something that Batman was about to use to kill Clark and made him bleed. So she threw it in the water because she thought, okay, no one can use it against Clark. Then, because you could see across the bay, right? She knew that Lex Luthor was at the scout ship. She knew that something bad came from the Kryptonian scout ship. And then when it showed up, right, and she sees this big giant beast, and they're fighting him, she thinks to herself, you know what? Maybe the Kryptonian weapon will work on. You don't have to hold people's hands on this shit. She could put 2 and 2 together. The beast.
She saw lasers coming out of Doomsday's eyes.
Yeah, the beast came from the scout ship, which means it might be Kryptonian. And there was a moment where she stopped and she thought to herself, let me go back for the spear. Because she could put 2 and 2 together. If she could figure out, you know what's great about this Lois Lane? He put the glasses on, she laughed at him because she knew that shit wasn't going to work. She's not an idiot. So she thought, okay, maybe the spear can be used as a weapon. You don't need to hold people's hands. They gave you a moment where she mulled it over in her head. That came from the scout ship. It's got to be Kryptonian. Let me go grab the spear. So,
all right.
moving along.
Okay. 11. Batman gets a bunch of angry letters. One of them says something like this. And there's a tweet from Christopher Rosen. I don't know who that is. But he said, hashtag Batman versus Superman. I haunt you. And then he goes, whoa, are there ghosts in this movie too? Scary. Okay, let me get this straight. The letters that were written were his checks, or the guy's checks, the guy who has no legs and the thing.
Yeah, he wouldn't return them. You mean he wouldn't cash them?
And it's not him. That was Lex Luthor. Lex Luthor openly admits to taking those checks and writing on them and mailing them to Batman, because Lex had that plan to begin with. He mentions it on like I said, my favorite scene. He brings that up. He takes it and he writes it all down. Like he writes, "I haunt you," because he's haunting him in his, because that moment scares him. That moment scares Bruce Wayne when he realizes there was no control and people in his building were dying and it was haunting him. That's why that was written. It was written by Lex Luthor, not the guy who has no legs. The guy who has no legs never got a check because Lex intercepted every single check and wrote that stuff, making it seem like that guy was writing it to him. Because Lex even said, oh, all I had to write was you're killing your family, or your family's dead.
You let your family die.
Yeah, your family died. All I had to do was write that. That's showing that he was behind all this. He also sent stuff to Superman. He sent all those pictures of the guy branded and dying to Clark Kent at his table to make him want to investigate it more. So that's all Lex Luthor's plan. Lex Luthor did it to mess with mess with Batman's head, and it worked because it got Batman to want to kill Superman. So that's out of the way, right?
Okay.
Right? We got that pretty well?
Yep.
Alright, okay. Oh, and here we go. Sure, there would be... The world is about to end, but I can wait. But that can wait. Wonder Woman needs to check her email. That didn't even happen at the same time. She was checking it before Doomsday even appeared. When she was on the airplane when Doomsday appeared. When
exactly.
Doomsday was to appear, she was on the airplane. So he immediately got this wrong. Right when things are building up, the movie takes a quick intermission. From the plot as Wonder Woman receives an email from Batman and it has stolen files from Lex Luthor introducing videos of the Justice League members. If Batman sent a bunch of cat videos instead, but
I think he's just. I think he's trying to be funny, and he's not funny.
Also, the way she, God. And then they're criticizing how how Batman wrote in every other they're criticizing the damn email and the way it was written too, which is that's really being petty. There's a difference between being critical and having a critical opinion and being petty and having that stupid kind of argument. So I guess we should skip that too because that was just dumb. There was no way to there's an easy argument for there, and I think we got that on the head. Oh, here it goes again. After an intense fight scene, Batman and Superman realize their moms are both named Martha, and suddenly they're BFFs. One,
it's not an intense fight.
Batman realizes Superman's mother is named Martha. Superman knows nothing about Batman's mom's name, so.
There you go. There you go. I was waiting for you to say that. I didn't want to take the shine. Superman knows nothing of Martha Wayne.
He barely knows anything of Bruce Wayne because Bruce Wayne is more known in Gotham. Yes,
and Bruce Wayne's a little bit more reclusive. Yeah, I know.
If this is also a universe where Bruce Wayne owns the Daily Planet, which I love that joke, by the way, that they put in, where he's like, do I own them? when he's like, oh, I'm Clark Kent for the Daily Planet, he's like, oh, do I own them?
Yeah.
Is this the one I own or the other one? So, yeah, I think that's out of the way, that's handled with. The Martha thing's getting really annoying. Batman saves Superman's mom and is all like, I'm a friend of your son. We already tackled that.
Yeah, I mean, he said that to put her at ease, and it's like, he knows he's not buddy-buddy, but I'm a friend of your son because she's like, who's this guy that's beating the shit out? Okay, she first saw Batman when he busted through the wall and grabbed a dude with a gun. That's frightening. I'm a friend of your son. She's like, I figured the cape. And she didn't even flinch. That's why she's so badass. She was like, yeah, I figured as much, the cape. She wasn't like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, don't hurt me, don't hurt me, don't hurt me. She was like, okay. Which is a contrast to those Asian girls that were, the Chinese girls that were in the dungeon in the beginning. Where they're like, the devil is still here. They're afraid. And she's just like, okay, yeah, my son, he wears a cape too. Cool. Up to speed.
Well, also, those ladies know nothing about Batman and didn't know if he was good or evil. They just saw his...
A devil. Yeah.
Okay, and these 15 and 16 are about Doomsday's butt.
Okay, skip it.
Really?
That's stupid. Don't care. Skip it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Let me just read this, because I heard someone say, really? 15. Yep, there's Doomsday's butt. Okay, let's zoom in and just hold it right there on that butt, guys. Perfect. Said someone on the set, probably. Alright, and then there's this one. But there's only butt. Doomsday was just... and there's like a comment from Reddit, because, you know, you go to Reddit for your extreme criticisms of, like, intense movies and not for jokes and laughs. Because every time I go on Reddit, I just see something funny. Doomsday was just pissed that he had a butt and no dick. Obviously, that was a joke. But, yeah. Well, at least it finally explains why he was so mad. Okay. So we're gonna, like, right, that's just stupid. That's
It's
not
just
even,
jokes.
yeah, that, and this person, I think, took it seriously. I'm not sure. 17. Superman gets nuked in space. It's cool, though. He's fine. He'll be fine in, like, 5 minutes. Okay, if anyone knows Superman's story, one of the things that was added to his powers was he gets healed by the sun, because the sun gives him the powers because he's on a different planet in a different system, and that sun is why he has all these powers, and the gravitational pull is why he has all the powers.
But Man of Steel explained that. It explained that the
Yeah.
sun heals him. He blew up the world engine that was supposed to kill him, and he put his hand out to the sun, and he was like, yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, so once again, obviously this person knows nothing about Superman and nothing about comics and doesn't do any research. So, what do you think about this list so far?
I don't even want to justify its existence
Man, all right.
with the response, but it's a bit. It's something to do for us.
Yeah. All right. Well, what's the worst thing? I think the butt thing is the worst thing in this so far.
Yeah.
All right. So number 18. Sure, we're in the middle of a huge battle, but it totally makes sense that Superman stops and hears Lois slain under some rubble.
She was beating on the rubble. You know what's funny? Someone else said that, oh, Superman could hear Lois Lane's heartbeat, so why couldn't he find her? I'm like, no, she was beating on the roof. Or she was beating on the rubble.
Yeah, So, why
That's a
is she
nitpick.
here again?
It's a nitpick.
Okay, she was there to save Superman. She went there to stop Bruce Wayne from killing Superman.
And to stop Clark from killing Bruce, because there's a part of him that said, you know what? I might have to kill this guy,
And I don't want to.
and I don't want to. He's torn.
Okay. 19. Oh, God.
But his main goal was to try and get Bruce to help him.
Yeah. His main goal was trying to go there to get Bruce to help him, and she wanted to stop Bruce from killing him and him from killing Bruce, because she knew both of them don't want to. She knew deep down Batman's a good man and wouldn't want to kill Superman if
Well, he's
he
a
realizes what's going
and here's
on.
the thing: Batman's a vigilante, so he's not like he's killing. It's not like he's hurting good people. He's hurting bad
He's trying to
people.
hurt bad people.
He's just a
And
little bit
he thinks
excessive.
Superman might be bad.
It's kind of like it's kind of like to a lesser degree Daredevil season 2 when with Karen and Frank Castle, where she sees that he's a good man, but his methods are a little excessive, and that's nothing compared to what Batman. What Batman does is nothing compared to that.
Daredevil and Punisher always had that kind of thing where
Yeah.
they're both heroes, but they hate each other because they disagree with how things should be done.
And one of the gripes that people had of this film is that Batman and Superman should have fought because of their ideologies. But when you think about it, Batman and Superman practically have the same ideology.
It's just they go about things differently. They have the same they have the same good caring nature, but they go about things differently. Superman promotes the hope and the love and the caring of
And
it,
and
and
Batman
Batman's
promotes the
the
fear.
fear.
Yeah.
Batman wants to strike fear in bad guys. Superman wants to strike hope in good people. So let's go to 19. 19. Harry Potter's parents don't appear when Doomsday and Superman's powers lock. Because they're referencing the Harry Potter, the
Yeah.
Harry
I'm not.
autobiography.
Let's not dignify that with a response. Let's move ahead.
Okay. Oh, this is not going to get any better. 20. Vin Diesel doesn't appear during a random car chase or all the other scenes that remind you of Fast and Furious franchise.
Okay, that's nice, cute. Moving along.
Batman visits Lex Luthor in prison and says stuff about finding him wherever he goes. He's in prison, dude. Mission accomplished. Also, Lex keeps saying ding, ding, ding. Please stop that. Alright, once again, ding, ding, ding is also referring to the coming of Darkseid.
And even if you don't know that, you know that they're gonna explain that because they're making more
Eventually.
films. And when Batman says wherever you go, Batman is a guy who has lots of money and works outside of the law. Part
And
of
so
him,
does Lex Luthor.
and part of
like,
him,
Lex Luthor's gonna get out of prison.
yeah, of course he's gonna get out because there's nothing really that they could. There's nothing that could hold him in court. He made a being out of alien technology that human beings themselves don't really understand. There's nothing underneath our law that they could really hold against him except for the bullet that Lois Lane had, and he says that'll sweep away like sand in the desert.
Also, the main thing, the only real thing they really do have against him, other than creating the alien, which he can use, he can hire the best lawyer and get out of that one. In this universe, I'm saying, not in real life, but like, the only thing they have against him is he tried to push Lois Lane off a building. He can erase all of his contacts with the KG Beast. He can do that. He can manipulate the government because he did that already. He can do that easily. So that's why Lex Luthor's not going to stay in prison.
I think
just getting out.
I think whatever landed him in prison was probably collected by Batman from when he saved Martha. And even then, that's minor bullshit. It's like, how do you end up in prison? Okay, you want to have another 30? You said the ending was long enough as you want another 30 minutes going through the judicial process? No. We know that he needs to go to jail. We know that there's a bunch of stuff that would prompt him to be guilty of laws on our world, and then other stuff that's really big that we can't really prosecute him on because it involves aliens. So let's move along from that, because you want to know something? You know what's funny? It's funny because I'm thinking to myself, there are legitimate things that people had gripes with that we could have actually addressed, and this guy had jokes. Okay, I'm gonna do this for the people listening because I love you guys. Okay, so Batman versus Superman. I'm gonna explain some of the stuff that may not make any sense to you guys. You say the movie's all over the place. I don't believe it. The Lois Lane storyline, the bullet. She was tracking a bullet from that camp in the beginning. Right? The guy with the glasses and the sunglasses in the beginning that rode off on the motorcycle with all the other radicals, that was the KG Beast. That's why later on she was like, do I recognize you from somewhere? Because it's the same dude. Okay? So basically, someone wanted Superman to look like he's influencing people to do horrible things. They set up the desert scene to make Superman look guilty. Right? So that starts off the Lois Lane storyline. Batman, we all know his building collapsed and all the people in it. You people could say, well, why'd they wait so long to evacuate it? In Man of Steel, they waited a long time to evacuate the planet. The Daily Planet. So that's just bullshit. It's semantics, it's whatever. So that sends Batman on his path. Lex Luthor has been doing all this research on metahumans and things like that. He's obsessed with gods. He wanted to create a deterrent using the kryptonite samples that were found in the Indian Ocean. He wanted a bigger sample. So that sets him on his path, and he's been doing all this research to begin with. Okay, so you guys got that. All the dream sequences and stuff like that with Batman, he's crazy. Okay, cool. So, because you guys said it was hard to follow, it's not really. Batman was interrogating the guy in the beginning because he wanted to find out who the white Portuguese was. He couldn't get information on it, so he went to Lex Luthor he went to the party to hack Lex Luthor's database because there was a hint dropped of the white Portuguese, but he thought the white Portuguese was the man. When he found the information, it's stolen information. It turns out the white Portuguese, it's a boat. And he told Alfred the whole time he just wants to get rid of a dirty bomb. It turns out he knows the kryptonite's coming and he knows that it'll degenerate Kryptonian cells. He tried to take the kryptonite from Lex. Up until then, Lex was fine. People were saying that whole Senate thing. Another legitimate gripe that people had was that the Senate stuff didn't make any sense because it didn't go anywhere. Let me explain to you. Up until that point, Lex Luthor was not a threat. He was a guy doing research and wanted to, rightfully so, have a backup plan in case Superman ever went rogue. That's understandable. What solidified him as a villain was that there was someone there who just merely said, I'm not going to bring the kryptonite in. So Lex said, okay, I can get the kryptonite easily. I'll smuggle it in. That's fine. But she's like, I'm going to let the whole world know who you are. That's going to do even more damage. So Lex Luthor had to blow up the Senate. One, to not make Superman look guilty, but even then, some people said they said, oh, it was a suicide bomber, blah, blah, blah. But what it really did was that it said, to Batman, it said, okay, even if Superman isn't involved, because he's such a polarizing character, destruction's going to follow him. Of course, the bomb didn't affect him, but it affected the people that were there because it killed them. If you don't have that scene where Lex Luthor is blowing up the place, Lex Luthor is not really a villain yet. He's just a guy that has a legitimate claim. So you're blocking someone that isn't a terrible person, but someone that's like, okay, I'm a scientist, I gotta look at this from all angles. Or I'm into science or whatever, and I have to look at it from a particular angle. Then Batman saw the Senate thing, and Batman, because he's crazy, said, you know what, fuck this, I gotta get this kryptonite. And he steals it from Lex Luthor. Had Batman not stolen the kryptonite, Lex Luthor wouldn't have moved on to the scout ship, but he did. And you could obviously see he was taking Zod's fingerprints. And you know what? You guys just gotta watch the movie. I'm telling you, there's stuff in the movie that does not make sense. I understand. Him talking to Pa Kent doesn't make sense. Him being out there makes sense because it was established that he was gone for a while after the Senate blew up. Now, if they just had a scene where he sat down, right, and he kind of just like closed his eyes and he meditated and he hallucinated something, or he just had like a little dream, that would make sense. That scene, I will stand by that. If you have a gripe with that scene, it came out of nowhere, it didn't make a whole lot of sense, they could have set it up better, I understand that. But everything else, the Lois Lane stuff, all that stuff she's doing is because she wants the world to see Superman as a hero because she knows he's a good guy. And she was been trying to tell his story since the first film because she knows he's a good dude. And it gives Lois Lane something to do. You say that stuff needs to be cut out, but it actually helps to develop the story. You say that Senate stuff needs to cut out, but it actually helps to develop Lex as a villain. What kind of sick son of a bitch puts a bomb in a guy's wheelchair? That's cold. And then he pisses in a jar, puts a label on it, says, Grammy's peach tea, and he blows up his own assistant. He means he could have said, Mercy, I'm going to blow up Senate. Don't go in there. But her being there makes it seem like, you know what? I'm not guilty because it wouldn't make sense. She blew up with it too. If I were guilty, I would have let her know and we would have scurried away. But he blew up his own assistant. At that point in time, you're like, that's fucked up. That's sick. This guy needs to be stopped. And then everything connects. I don't understand it. Just because something has multiple plot points and it jumps from the multiple plot points, all the plot points are in correct order. Am I wrong? The Lois Lane, she goes to Washington. Clark sees, she comes into the meeting. She leaves. Everything she does with the bullet is in order. It's not like, oh, well, wait a minute. That part of that storyline should have been at the end. All that happens the way it should be. The Batman storyline, everything happens the way it's supposed to happen. There's nothing out of place with that storyline. And the Lex Luthor storyline, all of that happened in a manner in which it all makes sense and it all leads into stuff. The only thing I could really say that doesn't make sense and feels disjointed is that fucking Pa Kent scene. That was unnecessary. I would have rather had Russell Crowe. But that would have confused people even more. Just not have that scene altogether.
I just want to just say something really quick. We're us defending the movie is because it needs to be defended from these critics or people who claim to be critics. the movie's far from perfect. There are a lot of things I would have changed. I think this would have been amazing 2 movies. I'm not sure if you would agree with me, but I think it would have been amazing 2 movies because I think it needed more time to set up stuff. I feel like some parts could have been done a lot better, but they were done good enough to where I was entertained and I understood the story. So like, just saying in general, like anything could have been done better as any movie can be, but also to prove that I don't agree with a lot of people either. I liked Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2. Not a lot of people liked either of them. I enjoyed both of them, but like I differ from a lot of people's opinions, and I respect if someone just didn't like the movie because they felt it was off, and I can understand. I do. My main gripe is they tried to shove too many stories in at once. Did it work? Yes, but couldn't it have been better as 2 separate movies? I think it would have been a whole lot better, and nobody would have these weird complaints and gripes with the movie. At all.
How would you feel if it were a 3-hour film? Because I remember when they first were done wrapping principal photography, they were playing around the idea of cutting it into 2 parts, and then they shut that idea down because because I think what they realized, right, when they had the film was that this was going to be another polarizing film, and that people probably wouldn't come back for part 2 because they felt like part 1 wasn't strong, because some people just don't like the dark tone, and no matter what, you could tell a really great compelling story, but if it's dark, people are just going to automatically dismiss it.
Well, it's just like I think I'm gonna go see. I'm gonna get it on Blu-ray and watch the 3-hour version.
Me too.
I have a theory that there's another 1 or 2 nightmare scenes in it. My theory involves Barbara Gordon and maybe Jason Todd.
Yep.
Just a theory I want to throw in there because I think his nightmares meant more than something as like things predicting the future or just things in general. I think it represents also his past, which is why he's like that today, which is why he's so hard and stoned and stuff like that, like and like just doesn't care anymore. Is because of Jason Todd and Barbara Gordon. So that's my theory. Once again, like I said in
No,
my
well,
video,
John, it's not a theory. John, it's not a theory.
it's just an assumption.
It's not a theory. It's actually, listen. This is Zack Snyder we're talking about. That scene where he went and looked up at when he looked up at the Bat costume, in that 3-hour cut, it's gonna cut to a really slow-mo shot of a hand reaching up, right? Like how Superman's hand was reaching up for the light, and then you see a wrench comes down on it over and over and over again, and he's basically the Joker is slaughtering this kid. And I'd be surprised if that wasn't shot because it was edited for violence. And there's a fuck ton of violence in the film that, I mean, well, not a fuck ton, but there's enough violence in there that people would say, well, maybe that's pushing an R. But brutally beating a child, I think,
and shooting someone in the spine. And
a woman too. We all know how we feel about violence towards women. That's why you didn't see Kylo Ren beat the shit out of Rey in Star Wars. But you saw Darth Maul fuck a whole lot of shit up. So,
all right. And the last one is, of course, where would this be without bringing up Martha for a 3rd time, maybe a 4th or 5th in this thing? Whoa, our moms are both named Martha, and then it has the stepbrothers thing. Did we just become best friends? Yup. Once again, this is proven wrong because Superman does not know that Bruce Wayne's mother was named Martha. He's an investigative reporter, yes, but he's also from Smallville, Kansas. So it's not like he was anywhere near Gotham and he knew about the Waynes.
And there was that line at the party. Who's that guy? Oh, you must be new.
So he knows nothing about this guy. He knew nothing about Batman either. So it's like he's from the middle of nowhere. The middle of nowhere doesn't care about the Waynes. And I'm not sure what the Wayne... Like, I know the Waynes have, like... They mentioned a few of the Wayne's history. I'm surprised they didn't involve Bruce Wayne's grandfather, who built the city practically. Which is why Bruce Wayne knows his way around the city so much, is because he has the original blueprints of it from his grandfather, who also went crazy and fell in a manhole and died, but that's a different story. That's all in the court of the owl stuff. in the New 52 Batman, it explains his grandfather a bit. But like the whole thing is just like when you want to just make fun of this film, I think most people do it because it's the cool thing to do.
Oh yeah,
And
people.
people are complaining at me for defending the film so much, but like, look, if I didn't brutally attack Age of Ultron, and trust me, I could have. That was a huge disappointment in my eyes. I think they could have took the ball and ran with it. There was 5 certain ways, which I'll actually talk about in a video on my YouTube channel. There's 5 certain ways they could have made that movie so damn good that I would have bought every single Marvel. I would have pre-ordered every single Marvel movie coming forward that day if they would have done it like a certain way, but they decided to keep it safe. Marvel does very safe plots. They don't want to risk anything, and by doing safe plots, sometimes
The films come out the same, they come out flat.
Poor Black Widow. It's just like when DC's like, oh yeah, you know what we're gonna do? Wonder Woman's gonna get hit so damn hard. Her sword and her shield are gonna fly out of her hand. She's gonna fall on her back. She's gonna get up slowly, smirk, have no injuries on her face, grab her sword and shield, and she did the most damage to Doomsday. She did more damage to Doomsday than any of them did.
But she killed Superman because if she hadn't cut his hand off, he wouldn't have gotten a spike and he wouldn't be able to stab her. You don't understand. She's responsible. And then, if Batman didn't weaken him with the kryptonite, maybe the spike wouldn't have gone through his chest. I hate DC. I have Marvel t-shirts, never read a Marvel comic. I hate it. I hate you guys. It's too dark. I need a flashlight to get out of the movie theater because it's so dark. Asshole movie theaters are dark. Seriously, you know what my problem is. You made a lot of points. Here's the way I look at it. I went into the film and I wanted the film to tell me what the film was. I try not to go in with expectations because here's the thing. I did that with The Force Awakens, and you know what? I couldn't enjoy it for what it was because I thought maybe they should have done X, Y, and Z. But if I looked at it the way that as a film, it was wonderfully shot. It was beautifully shot. It was back to Star Wars form because we weren't doing all this green screen shit. The story needed a little bit tightening up, but I'm thinking, okay, they went into this knowing it's a trilogy, so maybe the second and third parts will make up for what we didn't get to know.
Also, Force Awakens had really enjoyable characters.
You're saying Batman's not enjoyable?
No, I'm just talking about because we're talking about Force Awakens.
Yeah, they haven't had enjoyable characters. I'd fuck Rey.
Rey is one of my
with no condom, with nothing but my socks on, and a rubber. No, I'd wear the obligatory black guy porno outfit. It's you gotta have a fitted cap on, a gold chain, a watch, and some sneakers. But other than that, you're butt naked. But like I was saying, right? I went in and I said, okay, you know what? Let the film tell me what it is, and I enjoyed it for what it was because you could always change stuff. You could always want things a certain way, and I applaud it for what it did, and it had its problems. But I think what people are doing, right? People need to be told what they think in 2016. People can't form opinions for themselves, and people are afraid to say anything that's against being popular. And the reason why people will never give DC a shot is because they think that Marvel is the cool brand and DC's just lame. And even though the DC films, to me, have actually, if you look at it as what Marvel did, 2 films into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, right? We had an Iron Man film that was pretty good but safe, and a Hulk film that was pretty good but safe. Two films into the DC Cinematic Universe and Superman's dead. The guy they started the universe out with, the guy whose story they chose to follow first, he's dead by the second movie. And that puts a little bit more urgency into the Justice League film because they actually need Superman. And the Earth is going to realize they need Superman because he is the beacon of hope. So before, when they were divided on him, because they were like, oh, well, this, and this. By the end of the Justice League Part 2, people are going to realize, you know what? Superman is what we need. And I wouldn't be surprised if he's standing in front of a fucking American flag and shit like that. So you just got to be patient. And I think people don't want to be patient, which is funny because you guys sat through 4 films or 5 films before you got to the first Avengers. You did Iron Man 1 and 2. You did Hulk. You did Thor and Captain America. You guys got fucking patience. So wait, the story that they're telling in DC is not the Justice League coming together. That's the small potatoes. They're trying to tell fucking Crisis. So the Justice League formation is kind of like a drop in a bucket compared to what they're going to be doing and handling moving forward. With the multiverse, you really need to get this Justice League thing up off the ground, get that done, and then they're going to move into heavier stuff. I promise you. So just relax a little bit and stop being assholes. And one thing that I like about a lot of critics, the print critics are bullshit, but a lot of people who have been critics of the film, good or bad, online on YouTube, they all say this: go see it for yourself and form your own opinion. And a lot of people.
Okay. Even Kevin Smith said that.
Well, that's because Ben Affleck's his boy. I'm a little cynical on that. Ben Affleck's his boy. He wants his boy to succeed. But I'm saying just regular people that I see go to the movies. They're like, you know what? I didn't like this, and this, but everyone will admit I enjoyed it. I didn't love it, and because you didn't love it, you hate it. Because I saw this one guy. He was like, these guys picked apart the movie for an hour, and then they said, "What do you give it?" I give it a tentative 5 out of 5. How about you? I give it a tentative 10 out of 10. People like the film. They just had high expectations. So some people would say, a lot of people said, I liked it. It was pretty good, but I didn't love it. And that's a lot to put on a superhero film because there are other films out there that are made specifically to touch on the human condition that aren't superhero films. We can't put superhero films as, oh, well, we need to learn about life through them. It helps, but even The Dark Knight, at the risk of being a Batman film and taking away a lot of things that make Batman Batman, it was essentially Heat, but with Batman characters. And it was a good film, but Chris Nolan, you couldn't do Man Bat in that universe. You couldn't do Clayface. There's a lot of stuff about the Batman character you couldn't do in that universe because it was so grounded. Yeah. They couldn't even just let the Joker be a guy that was exposed to chemicals and therefore he has white skin. It had to be, he had to paint it on. You know what I mean? So, and really, you're looking for a commentary on the human condition through a Batman movie. Bill Maher said it best. Bill Maher says, we live in America where Harry Potter is considered literature and a Batman film is supposed to be a profound look at the human condition. And yeah, you could look at it that way, but there are other films that do it a lot better because they're meant to be that. Go watch some Stanley Kubrick films. Go watch some Terry Gilliam films. You know what I mean?
Like, comic books have always commented on the human condition.
Yeah, obviously.
Always. When it came to Jack Kirby and Joe Simon getting death threats because they made Captain America punch Hitler before America even got into the war, and there was a strong pro-Nazi movement in America because they didn't realize what the Nazis were actually doing. Like, when it's down to it, like, well, of course I bring up the great Jack Kirby because Jack Kirby's my favorite of all time. If we're doing a Mount Rushmore of greatest comic book creators of all time, he's number one for me immediately on my list. I feel like he should always be on the Mount Rushmore. Period. Like, it's just that I think that people don't understand comic books. People don't get it, and they think because of a movie they get it, or because of what they grew up with they get it. Like, they're surprised when they see Lex Luthor act crazy, when originally he did act crazy. Lex Luthor wasn't always like that rich billionaire kind of guy. He was nuts. If you look at the original Superman movies, he was crazy. He wasn't this smooth, suave guy until those are more recent years, Lex Luthor. That was like the last 20 years, 30 years he was created like that. He wasn't like that originally. And people don't understand that. And that's why I started my channel to, like, just explain that, look, just because you grew up with watching something, things change. Things change a lot. Batman originally always used a handgun. Always. It was second nature to him. But things change. And people don't like the change. But guess what? If you don't like that version, you can always pick up a comic book and read. And then maybe you'll understand a bit more. Because, like, when you see something on TV, you're seeing someone else's vision of that comic. When you see The Flash, when you see the Avengers movies, you see somebody else's vision. You're not seeing the original creator's vision. You'll never see that. God forbid you ever, like, the thing is, Marvel owes everything to Jack Kirby, and you'll just see created by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, very tiny at the bottom, because they'll never give any credit to him. But the thing is, the coolest thing, the thing I'm so pumped about, is that both of these, the Marvel Cinematic Universe and the DC Cinematic Universe, are both surrounded by Jack Kirby. Darkseid is going to be the main villain in the Justice League, which is a Kirby villain. Which, who knows, they might include the New Gods in this. And
I think that's
I
where
imagine.
I think one of the ways that if they were ever going to cap off the DC universe, I think they might do something where they may elevate Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman to god status. That would be kind of cool. But
Well, I'm
like,
kind of hoping for the New Gods. We need knockout. We need knockout for Suicide Squad: Rise of the Secret Six.
and I would love to see Big Barda.
yeah,
Yeah,
me too.
Oh
I'd
my
like to
God.
see Granny
Mr.
Goodness.
Miracle.
I would love to see Granny Goodness because Granny Goodness, I think that might give kids nightmares.
Wait, hold on.
Oh, if only
New theory.
Divine was still alive.
Wait, guys, I have a
Yeah.
new theory. Superman's body gets sucked in by Granny Goodness.
Did you have to put it like that?
Yeah.
Yes, that's exactly how I had to put it. Granny Goodness is behind Crisis.
You're right. Marvel is very safe, and I could applaud DC for doing stuff that isn't safe. They could have easily made a milquetoast Superman story where he's the beacon of hope, but they decided to make Superman an everyman that we could all relate to. They could have easily done a Batman that's heroic but a little bit dark, but easily digestible, but they went and they did a crazy Batman. I mean, they could have easily done a Wonder Woman that was working with the government in Washington, but she's like, I walked away from man because of atrocities. They could have easily just given us Mark Strong as Lex Luthor or Billy Zane as Lex Luthor and given us a safe Lex Luthor. And they did none of that. They could have easily made this a safe film, and whenever we thought we knew where the film was going, they did something to sucker punch us. They thought, okay, Batman and Superman are going to fight over ideologies. Nope. Batman's crazy. He has Superman's mom. Superman doesn't want to fight. Batman doesn't care. It's not the fight that we expected. Then they fought Doomsday, and they thought, okay, they're going to finish Doomsday, and at the end, the three of them are going to stand as a trinity, and they're going to basically start the Justice League. And how does the film end? Superman's dead. So they're taking what we were expecting and throwing it on the head. And I think people in this day and age, when they go to a movie, they just want things their way instead of letting the storytellers tell them a story that will get them engaged.
Alright, in general, I think I enjoyed the movie. As a comic book fan, I enjoyed the movie. Do I speak for all comic book fans? No, I can just speak for myself. If you didn't like the movie, that's fine. But if you're going to critique the movie, come at it as a comic book fan and as a film fan. And there's two ways to come about it. And if you give me these BS arguments and you don't know who Man-Bat is and you don't know comic book characters, how am I going to trust your opinion on a comic book movie in general, period? Don't come for me for advice on Cars because I don't know a thing about cars. So I'm not going to go to you for advice about comics if you don't know anything about comics. So yeah, if you're going to critique a movie, if you're going to criticize a film, at least do some research on the characters. Know what year they came out. Know something. Or you can just simply go to youtube.com/nerducation and learn from me firsthand. I am a selfless plugging whore, I know. So, yeah, that's my opinions.
Yeah, Colin, what's your opinion on Batman versus Superman?
Anyone who thinks this movie Superman is too dark hasn't read the new 52, the post Flashpoint Superman.
Oh well, that guy's just he makes me not want to live. But okay, yeah, that's a
Yeah.
valid point.
He's so dark, they're bringing pre-Flashpoint Superman back to Action Comics.
He's so dark that Wesley Snipes read that shit. He's like, you know what? I officially don't feel like the blackest guy in a room. Yeah, it's funny. It's true. No, I feel like Colin makes a very good point. This Superman isn't dark. He's just a good guy in a dark world. And he's a guy that's pious, but he's trying to figure out, well, wait a minute, all these people, they don't like me, and I don't understand why, really. And I thought I was doing the right thing, and I'm still getting shunned. And I don't care what anyone says. When you put your neck out there, well, not really because he's a god, but when you go out there and you try to do your best to help people and they hate you, that has to get to you a little bit. I would be concerned if he didn't care what people thought. He tried that shit in the beginning of the movie. I don't care what anyone thinks. And by the end of the movie, he's like, fuck it, man. You got me. I care. So I don't think he's dark. I just think he's a guy who's in a dark world. And I think it serves DC best to start off with a world that's dark. And then let's see if the world changes with the presence of all these heroes coming out of nowhere. Because up until now, you've just had a guy who dresses up like a bat and beats the shit out of people, a retired war hero, and then a guy who's an alien that grew up on a farm. So let's wait until Justice League, and we'll see if it's still like, brooding after that. Then it's just Zack Snyder has some issues he needs to work out. Anything else you want to chime in on? How'd you like the film overall, though? Don't give it. You have to.
Fine.
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing that people we notice is that even the people that said they didn't like the movie, they said, oh, the movie was just okay. Well, okay, yeah, that means it's good. That means that, Taco Bell is just okay, but shit, I mean, you act as though someone insulted you by providing you with Taco Bell. It's not a gourmet taco. It's not Tinga's. It's not anything like that. It's Taco Bell. And all these movies are Taco Bell, which is great, because you know what? If you're starving, it's the greatest thing in the world. So I don't know. My thoughts on the movie, I actually really love the movie. I thought it was a step up from Man of Steel, because when I watched Man of Steel and I came out of it, I wasn't a fan. I warmed up to it. The more I watched it, the more I got out of it. This one, I was like, you know what? I liked it. I saw it again. I loved it. I saw it again. I loved it. And it's like, yeah, it has flaws, but I don't think people realize there are plenty of films that people love that have flaws in it. There's no such thing as a perfect film at all. Film is subjective. What some people saw as plot holes, other people saw as open pockets for them to think about the world more. What wasn't up front and they beat people over the head with, other people saw layers into it. Like the whole Martha thing, again, we saw layers. Other people said, oh, your mom's name is Martha, my name's Martha too. Even though Clark was like, I don't know your mother's name is Martha. Your mother's dead. But my name is Martha. My mother's name is Martha because I just told you. And I also feel like the one thing that people need to learn is just not let people make decisions for you. Because if you didn't give this movie a chance and you started hating it because someone on the internet says you should, they took away something from you that I think is precious about movie going. Whenever there's a movie and everyone's, it's a big movie, I tend to stay away from reviews and things like that because I want to see the movie for myself. I don't want to be in a situation where, oh, well, someone made a decision for me before I saw it. And I feel like these critics did a terrible thing because, okay, say what you don't like, but saying Batman vs. Superman fails on every single level and it's the worst thing you've ever seen, people will go into that and nitpick and say it's the worst thing they've seen, and I can guarantee you right now, it's not the worst film people have ever seen. And we've all agreed it's not a perfect film because there's no such thing. So give it a chance. Just consider it like this. It's the Incredible Hulk of the DC Cinematic Universe. Marvel started off with Iron Man, then they had Hulk. Hulk, some people liked it okay, but it was kind of lackluster. We had Man of Steel, now we have Batman vs. Superman. Now, if Suicide Squad sucks, and Wonder Woman sucks, and Justice League sucks, alright, you know what? You got me.